Welcome back to Be Bold. Now we have a very interesting guest, BB with a purpose. Let's take a look at their profile.
Kenya plunged into a dreadful turmoil due to the hotly disputed 2007 general elections. Citizens witnessed repugnant scenes like violent looting of property, mass killings along tribal and political lines, internally displaced persons, police brutality, and much more. Amongst the majority who were perpetuating this unrest was the youth. After witnessing neighbors turning against each other and brothers baying for brothers' blood, two young individuals stood up. Emmanuel Omuronga and Eddie Okech thought that the youth could use their fingers for something more peaceful or something more peace-promoting. This is when they decided to turn things around by creating the White Fingers Mwangaza Fund in June 2008. Be Bold met up with one of the founders from Kenya to find out more about this peace initiative which is impacting so many people in Kenya today.
Alright, so tell me your name and what exactly it is that you do.
Wow, I'm Eddie Gisheru Okech. I come from Kenya, but I consider myself a son of Africa because I connect well with the African history and I connect well with all the challenges and opportunities that are in the continent. And I love Africa so much. And I'm a graduate of the African Leadership Academy, actually an inaugural graduate. I was in the inaugural class, and in the moment I ran my organization, my peace building organization called White Fingers Peace Initiative in Kenya, that seeks to address the root causes of conflicts in Kenya and the continent, and basically to unite Kenyans towards a more coherent community.
Okay, so tell me exactly when you left ALA, what are some of the things that you learned that have grounded you today to be who you are?
Wow. First of all, ALA brings a pool of diversity together. Like I usually say, even in my poems and my scripts, that is drama script, that ALA is this pool that brings the entire continent into, the entire continent's diversity into perspective. Like if you come to ALA, there is this wonderful diversity that you get together. And this diversity is very easy to learn from, like from first-hand perspective. Like you get students from Mali, you get students from Morocco, you get students from DRC, so that when you hear about DRC, the conflict that you have been hearing about DRC, you now get to dig deeper into them. You get them in first-hand information. So it has given me this broader picture of the continent, and it has built my passion for the continent. Yes, I had a passion for the continent, but now it's stronger because I've seen the continent in one conglomeration in the African Leadership Academy, and I would say that my passion for the continent has grown stronger. Then leadership skills that we are taught at African Leadership Academy, I think they're more based on actions that you can take as young people, not waiting for someday, because someday is not any day of the week. And there's nothing like leadership of tomorrow in ALA. You take responsibility now. The time, every moment you live with the continent. Every moment you live to do something for the continent. That's why when I left the academy, that was in 2010, when I graduated in June, I had options. I had option of going to university. I had been admitted to university in the US. I had option of going back to where I used to work. That was Equity Bank. I was interning with Equity Bank, and I was getting good pay.
Yeah, so wait, after here, you worked at Equity Bank?
I worked at Equity Bank when I was first year.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, I had a chance to go and work after graduating in ALA. So I'm just saying that I had all these options, but my passion grew stronger in what I wanted to do. Like I got much passion on African conflicts. Why are they always recurring? Why do we have wars in the Congo? Why do we have wars in Sudan?
Why do you think?
Why do we have wars in Somalia? And I think that it's about addressing the root cause of these problems, because we have seen people from outside the world, coming to intervene in our conflicts. We have seen also in the continent people going to intervene in different countries, but they focus on derivatives. Like for instance, when we had a problem in Kenya, it was about Honorable Raila Odinga and Honorable Mwai Kibaki, as opposed to being about the people. Why would somebody just decide to kill one another on the element of the election? There is some underlying issues. There are some root causes that we don't address. So I thought about that my passion was pushing me towards addressing, or rather towards contributing in addressing these root causes of these problems. Because I think that if we tackle the root causes of problems in the continent, one day, someday, we will be having a more peaceful and prosperous continent where people coexist.
Looking at your situation in Kenya, what exactly were some of the root causes of that particular conflict?
First of all, young people in the entire the broad Pacific in the continent must connect to our history. The root causes of our problems have got history, and Africa is rich in this history that defines the entire continent and nations in particular. For Kenya, for example, there's this question of land, right? People were displaced during colonization period and they were not resettled. When you talk about, let's say, the Kikuyu versus the Kalenjin, it's not a question of an election. It's a question of while the Kikuyus replaced after being displaced after the conciliation violence. Then if you talk about if you talk about the young people who participated in the conflicts in Kenya, you must know that there are two kinds of young people: those who are economically empowered and those who are not economically empowered. If you look at every single thing that everybody who was perpetuating unrest in the country in the name of young people, it was young people predominantly who are not empowered economically. And there is nobody who came strongly to address the idea around economic empowerment of young people. And even as we speak right now, Kenya is nearing an election. Young people are coming strongly to take over leadership, but they're not empowered economically. If anybody empowers them economically, then they become a creation of that person. Therefore, there's no any change in their sense. So the idea is, how can White Fingers Peace Initiative help these young people empower themselves economically? So that is one of the root causes we're trying to address, helping young people to identify their passions and talents, and then turning them into community action projects that can help them put something on their table.
Give me an example of what your organization has done to empower the youth of Kenya.
Interesting. That's great. I will give you an example of a young boy called Aziz Osman. Aziz Osman is a Somalian-born young Kenyan who comes from a humble background, and at the time towards 2007, he didn't have anything. Then in one of our programs, we helped him. His passion was to start a shop. Then how to tap that dream was difficult for him. Therefore, he was just in the streets of Migori. After undergoing through our program, Aziz now owns a wholesale, and he also owns an M-Pesa shop. M-Pesa is basically a transaction of money via mobile phones. And right now, Aziz is growing his enterprise towards a bigger retail shop. That's at an individual level. We've got somebody like Maurice Shikuku, whose passion was in the environment, and he didn't know how to combine the idea around the environment and making money. Because like if you look at his idea around planting trees, he could not do all these things together. Right now, after undergoing our program, which we ran actually in 2008, together with some students in the academy, like we had Michael Kaemba Belinda from Zimbabwe, Michael from Uganda. We had Mr. Myers, who was the head of leadership curriculum in ALA from US. We went with them to Kenya and ran the White Fingers program. Maurice now runs a wonderful nursery, like a nursery for trees, and he sells massive tree seedlings. Wow. And he has expanded towards opening wonderful fish ponds. So now he's building his idea towards a concrete enterprise that he can see giving back to him as well as giving back to the community, because there is all this burning of charcoal, there is all this curing of tobacco around where he comes from, and now he can give back by giving them trees plant at a cheaper cost, and as well as getting to empower himself economically.
Now let's talk. Now I want to know more about you. How did you get to where you are today? I mean, you have your organization, but how do you really make money?
Wow, that's a very interesting question, because when I stopped working for Equity Bank, it was a little bit of a scandal in my life and in the life of the people I care for and I care about, because the philanthropic work is very difficult, because first of all, you're not sure of making money. Like, I can assure you that in my fingers I don't make any money, because any proposal I write is about the young people I try to empower. Like, it's about the program I'm going to run. Sometimes it's a very, very strict budget. So I'm still a bother in in my family. I'm still a bother my foster families and my friends. You know, I still survive with my friends and all that. But one thing I've realized is that people who have gone through the program tend to support the Secretariat of White Fingers a lot, which basically is what we survive on. But what we have transitioned toward is also developing our own income generating projects. Like we have got our own agricultural land where we can plant maize and then sell the maize and get to sustain ourselves as a secretariat, because we are all driven by passion. I've got a team of young people, young men and women in Kenya who are driven by passion for this peace idea, this peaceful coexistence that we dream about, and a united Kenya and a united Africa. So basically we develop our own projects that can help us generate income, as well as sometimes depending on still on our parents, that we struggle to get footing because we have not got any serious funding, and we believe in empowering ourselves many times.
So a lot of young people out there who have a big heart are also looking at you and really wondering what kind of advice you have for them. So just give me a couple of thoughts on that.
Wow, that's a good question. Young entrepreneurs in Africa, I want just to focus on the African young entrepreneurs. First thing, entrepreneurship should not be about money. It should not be about what we get. It should be about Africa. And this only comes with a sense of clear connection with African history, because African history is rich, and it's from that history that if we dig our passions and our talents towards building that history, then we tend to address the root causes of problems that we have in the continent. For instance, you can be entrepreneurial in terms of, let's say, technology, and you want to go under and do your technology stuff in terms of enterprises in a rural village, which maybe laptop is not their issue. Their issue could be something else. So if you can blend your passion with the African history and the history of our people, I think it will be very, very powerful for young people. And one thing also I want to tell young people out there is they have got immense potential that is lying within them. They've got this immense potential, and they should be brave enough to tap their indigenous potential. I don't want to hear about this youth empowerment. Why should you be empowered by somebody else? If it's an empowerment that will help you empower yourself, best. But if always we seek for women empowerment, youth empowerment, and we are in such a rich continent, it doesn't add up for an African spirit. Yeah, so I want to see people coming out there and tapping their indigenous potential, blending their passions and talents into economic ventures and into developmental ventures that can help this continent stand by itself.
Interesting indeed. I just love what people are doing all over the world. Anyways, let's take a break. We'll be back with more.